Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of Teen Talk Live. I am your host, Ann Dillard, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I just want to welcome you all in to this session of Teen Talk Live. Thank you for joining us. I've had great anticipation about tonight's show because I have some special guests on. But before I introduce you to my guests, I want you to know that this month is National Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. And this month, our sponsor has been Joseph Dillard with X Blanker Blog, and he is a financial consultant. And Joseph has had over 30 years of experience in the finance industry. And he says, I don't sell products. I provide solutions to help individuals and their families save money, decrease debt, protect their income, and become financially free. And if you are interested in being a sponsor for Teen Talk Live, just drop me a message and let me know. And we wanted to get that out of the way so that we can get to the business at hand tonight, because we have a very, very important topic. Right? So as you join us, just go ahead and share this video out, tag somebody, tell them that Teen Talk Live is on the air. And tonight we are talking about depression in Black men, right? We're talking about depression in Black men. And I just want to make sure that everything is okay and you can hear me. Tonight we have our special guest, my friend and my colleague, Dr. Reginald Cunningham. Dr. Cunningham, thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Always glad to be here.
Awesome. And as my husband W, the male face of Black Therapist Rock, right?
Pretty much.
And I try to be very selective about the guests that we have on. And Dr. Cunningham and we have traveled a few countries together,
yes,
a few states together, yes, doing this work. And I'm so glad that you are here. So tell our guests about you, Dr. Cunningham.
Well, I am a counseling psychologist here in the District of Columbia, servicing, of course, Maryland and Virginia as well. I have a growing group practice. I have like 3 therapists working under me now. And basically, we just provide the services that are needed. You know, my particular focus is increasing Black males about mental health, not mental illness, but mental health and what that actually involves. Because as everyone knows, you know, that's just something that we take for granted, and we don't really try and explore our emotions. You know, I started in this field over 20 years ago with an emphasis on Black youth, you know, the age group of around, say, 14 to 18. And they will always be part of my passion, you know, as I continue in this field, because I do believe that it's what I'm designed to do. So basically, yeah, I'm just a meager, getting old man trying to make a difference in the lives of us other Black men.
No, you're doing it.
I do my best.
You are doing it, sir. And I'm so glad that you took me up on this invitation to have this courageous conversation around depression in Black males, right? Mm-hmm. And I want you to meet our other guests. I want you to meet my brother and my friend, DaJuan Savage. Hey, DaJuan.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Glad you're able to join us. And I want you also to meet Myles. Thank you for being here, Myles.
You're welcome.
Glad you all are here. So DaJuan, tell us a little bit about you and your family.
So, you know, me and my wife, Melanie Savage, we're both entrepreneurs. And, you know, we are, you know, trying to bring up two black boys in this world. And, you know, we deal with everything. I mean, our family's been through the best of times and the worst of times. and our kids, they've gotten a chance to experience all that. And so for my son here, you know, he's the kind of kid that kind of he doesn't really talk. He's a person that kind of bottles things in a little bit. I got to kind of pull on his collar to get him to say how he really feels and different stuff like that. And he's getting better at it. But you know, we've dealt with the kid depression, and stuff like that. And for me, that was new because I never knew what it looked like. And um, I got a chance to experience it firsthand as he started losing his hair to this alopecia thing. I never understood that and how it was affecting him, and it really was taking its toll on him. To the point where he wouldn't come out of his room. He'd hide in his closet. I mean, just all the different things that was, something that I wasn't used to. And I grew up in a traditional family where we didn't we didn't embrace those things as a problem. We embraced them as soft. And I had uncles that would always tell me, "Quit acting soft," or "Quit," So you grow up with that attitude, or you just grow with it's like an uncompassionate type of attitude. And for me, being able to um, talk to him about those things, it was kind of hard. I was just like, man, you gotta toughen up, man, and this and that. The same way I was raised.
Right,
And,
right.
he didn't, for a while, he didn't catch on to it, and I had to catch myself. When I was seeing it, I had to understand that I had to become a different dad, where I listened more, and I did more soft understanding versus this hard approach that
Right.
I was kind of given.
So
So
wow, you said a whole lot there, right? And I just want to back up a little bit and just unpack some of that because you've given us a whole lot, right, Dr. Reggie?
Yeah, I was about ready to jump in myself, but go ahead.
It's like, hold up. This is so good. You've given us a lot of information. Hold on a second. Let me shout out to our guests who are joining us. I'm so glad you all are here. Please share this out and send DaJuan and Myles some love. Send them some heart. Let them let them see that their courage is going to make a difference in lives. So I want to shout out Sabra for being here. Phoenix, thank you for joining us. Dr. Paula, thank you for joining us. Sister Sandy, Sister Kimball, thank you for joining us. Monica, I'm so glad you're here. Aquanette, thanks for being here. I mean, all these people are watching and are just here to support you, Myles. And this is just amazing. I'm trying to see all the names and it won't let me see all the names. And I see my brother from Jamaica is on here with us. I'm like, people all over the world. People from Senegal, West Africa. Cecile, thanks for being here. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited, you all. This is good stuff. So as you all join, Jackie Palmer, thank you for being here. Raylene, thank you for being here. As you all join, share this out. Let people know that the doctor is in the house and he's gonna give some information as we share this story of this courageous young man. Myles and his dad, DaJuan, is here with us. So let's back up, DaJuan. So let's start with the alopecia first.
okay.
So when did that start? When did you start notice that in Myles?
About a year ago, and I thought it started coming in as ball patches, and I didn't think nothing of it. I just thought maybe he just was sleeping, or something like that. Something with just the way he was sleeping, and it turned out to be more than that. It actually started. His hair started falling out. He had a flat top, kind of a high flat top, and so his hair started falling out at the top. and that's when I noticed it became a problem. And then it was like a month and a half. That's how fast it happened. And then, he didn't have any hair.
Okay.
And, like I said, Miles is a kid that kind of bottles things. And
Right.
we thought it was like stress and different stuff like that. And so, we would, like I said, that approach where it's like, man, you just gotta chill, man, be cool, be calm, all this, and
Okay.
given that wide range advice, it didn't click for that wasn't what he needed.
Right. Okay, so let me talk to Myles a little bit. So, Myles, when you started losing your hair, and by the way, I think this is National Alopecia Month also. So, when you started losing your hair, Myles, what were some of the things? Are you comfortable sharing? What were some of the things you were feeling? What were you going through?
Yes, I'm comfortable.
Give him the microphone so I can hear him a little bit.
Yes, I'm comfortable.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Was it hard to go to school?
Oh, no, because I was getting a haircut, so.
Oh, okay. So you would just cut it down to match the low parts.
Yeah, because it was only in the back in the beginning.
Oh, okay. All right. So what was the discomfort that you were feeling? What was uncomfortable about it?
It was just weird. Like having no hair in some spots and having hair in others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel that you were different?
No.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay.
Dad, I want to ask you something if I can, Ann. You described, circling back around to how you initially described your son. I'm going to step out there and say that you probably went through some emotions of your own.
Yeah, I did.
Took you down that pit.
For me, well, at the same time, me and my wife were having issues, right? So, like it was a lot of tension, and I think a lot of that's where it came from, just stress. And on his end, I think it was because we had never been down this road, me and my wife, and so it was just a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? And once I started seeing that, I I didn't know how to grasp it. Like I didn't understand it, and so but I would always try to encourage him and always try to, do things, but it was affecting him in other places like school, his classwork, stuff that he never had issues with, um, his relationships at school, all this stuff just started happening so fast.
Okay.
And so emotionally, it was just like one of those feelings like everything is just kind of falling apart. You know what I'm saying? And when you see it with your kids, it really hurt.
So tell me, and I know I'm going to get Myles in here a bit, but I want to bring something out in you as well. Tell me about the guilt you were feeling.
Not really guilt for me. It was more really not knowing, just not knowing what to do. That I wasn't really feeling like a guilt. I just was feeling like lost. Like, how can I, I didn't have an answer. And, that's a scary place to be, for a man that's watching his son go through this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it was more just a lost feeling of not knowing how to help him. As a man, we always want to be there and we always got it figured out and we always got an answer. But when you don't have an answer for something, it's like, it's that Scooby Doo effect. Like, I don't know, it hurts, You want to say something?
No.
He didn't want to say nothing.
Myles, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When you look in the mirror, what do you see?
Same kid.
The same kid. That I couldn't have given you a better answer than that. The exact same kid. So before you realized that you was the same kid, what were some of the feelings you were experiencing?
When it first happened, I was confused.
Was confused. And what did that feel like for you?
Felt weird.
Felt weird. Okay. What else did you feel?
Felt like it wasn't real sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm. Did you talk to your dad about it, or you kept it all to yourself?
I talked sometimes.
Sometimes. Your dad mentioned something about you even hiding in your room and in the closet. Okay.
He didn't want to talk
That's
about
okay.
that.
That's okay.
But yeah, his brother came home and found him in the closet. Just like his brother came over and just to kind of check on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he had found him in the closet, and that was when I heard that, I was just like, that's really like, that was a kind of a breaking point for me, so.
Wow. Well, you really just described a lot of the things that Black youth and Black men go through on a daily basis, and they don't really realize that a lot of those things that you're experiencing really is depression. And I'm actually kind of talking to you for a moment there. You know, the hopelessness. You don't know what's going on with your son. That's got to drive you to a place that's unfamiliar for you. Because you're supposed to be that king for him. You're supposed to, be that idol for him, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. And it bothered me, like I said, because I grew up different. I grew up in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And life was totally different, for us. We fought, we didn't recognize depression and different stuff like that. I didn't start recognizing depression until I became an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been depressed before, and I didn't even know it. But when I caught it, it took me going to some men's groups and stuff like that, kind of just getting some things off my chest, and getting some therapy, all that kind of stuff that I would have been against, in my latter days. But as an adult, seeing it now, I'm glad I did those things. And like I said, it did bother me. It bothered me a lot.
Did you notice any anger in your son?
Yeah, I think more it was. I think he would go off on his brother, his younger brother, and we didn't recognize. We didn't know if he was being bullied at school and then coming home and taking it out on his brother or what. And he said, he would tell us he wasn't, but then my wife would come and tell me stuff like, like he was the kid that would wear his hat in school last year, and so that that kind of stuff for me, that makes you a target. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids see you the only kid in school with a hat on, only kid in class with a hat on, you stand out and stuff like that. And so he was dealing with that. And so and then he had one incident where one kid had hit his hat off, and then he punched another kid thinking that he did it. And stuff like that he never did before. That's not even in his character. He punched this kid and it was the wrong kid. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So once I started hearing that stuff, that was like, I knew it was serious.
Yeah, what we find, particularly in young boys, is that they don't always demonstrate that sadness or that low feeling when it comes to depression. Depression is actually demonstrated in anger outbursts as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times for absolutely no reason at all.
That's right. Dr. Reggie, would you speak up just a little bit more so I can hear you, so our guests can hear you? Because I think that's a really good point that you made, that Whereas when we hear depression, we look for sadness, we look for withdrawals, we look for, not sleeping. But depression in teenagers, and especially in young males, look a whole lot differently. Or it can, it can.
Not always, but it can.
It can look a whole lot differently than it would in what you would call the typical population, right? So can you tell us some symptoms or some signs of depression especially, and we'll talk about some of the causes, but especially in young Black male?
Well, and again, in young Black males, we really have to pay attention to behavior. If that young man is demonstrating some behaviors that are not his norm, and that's when that connection has to be between parent and child to actually be cognizant enough to recognize that, whether it's outbursts, whether it's talking back, the isolation and things of that sort. That goes without saying. That's something that you kind of expect with adults and kids when it comes to depression. They isolate, they're all video and they have no social network. But some of the things, the most things that stand out with young boys is that depression is oftentimes demonstrated and characterized as anger.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we're getting a lot of comments, saying to DaJuan, as a dad, we congratulate you and thank you for the courage. And the men here are identifying with you to say, hey, it's hard to, protect your family and you don't even know what you're up against. And so,
that's true.
Yes. So kudos to you. Phoenix said that's so commendable, DaJuan. Make the shift away from what his male family members have shown him. So the patterns that you have learned, you took a courageous step, is what Phoenix is saying, to do something else and to try something else. So they're saying how courageous that it is, because it's not easy to break a pattern and break a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when you don't know, like I grew up in that society where you did something wrong, you get put on punishment and stuff like that. So when I didn't understand it, like his behavior and stuff changing, be like, okay, you can't watch TV for 2 weeks, you can't do this. And really, it was like he crying out for something, other than, he really crying out for something is really deeper than him just acting up and different stuff. And it took a while for me to catch that it wasn't in his character to be this kid. So I need to get down to what's really going on. He wasn't playing football. He wasn't, the sports thing. He sat out for the year. And then the team that he was playing for had went to the championship, and then they won tickets to go to the Super Bowl. And I could tell that bothered him tremendously. Like, I mean, it really affected him seeing that. And I mean, just so many things just begin to cling to him. So if it wasn't the hair, it was because he wasn't with his teammates for that, or it was he was growing up in a household where he wasn't being able to, express himself. He didn't know how. And so, it took a lot, man, and I'm still working on him, trying to figure it out, but he's a lot more open now than he was.
That's so amazing. And Dr. Reggie, Candace says, is depression in youth often mistaken for conduct disorder? And if you would express what conduct disorder is for our audience who are not clinicians, and then talk about that.
Well, I can put it in layman's terms if you want me to. Conduct disorders and bad kids. No, that was a joke. Conduct disorder basically is you've got your out of control type kids, the kids who don't listen, the kids who are oppositional, but don't necessarily meet the diagnosis of oppositional defiant, the ones that have difficulty paying attention, Their attention span, of course, is shot. Doesn't mean that they don't have or does have ADHD. It basically means that child has a behavior problem of fitting within the norms of what normal behavior should be.
And so when I also, to add to what you're saying, when I also think of conduct disorder, I think about young boys who are vindictive.
Very.
You know, I think about the ones who they will hurt animals and get a joy out of it.
Yes.
And, you know, they'll set fires and do things like that.
Absolutely.
So it's deeper than a misbehavior. And so when
he started yelling a lot, he started like doing like raising his voice. When him and his brother would get into it, it would be over the smallest stuff, but the arguments just started more and more. And you know, his little brother could be a pest, you know, but that's what little brothers are. And instead of him blowing it off, it would go to like World War III. And so I knew that was the issue too. And and so that was another thing that really made me deal with it, because I didn't want it to go to that part where he started hurting his brother or hurting himself, you know, stuff like that. So
that's a good thing, because when I think about it, DaJuan, and you started off by saying that there was so much going on in the family.
Yeah.
And if Myles is a person who internalizes his feelings, he could have very well also internalized the stress of the family.
Yep.
Right. And then it comes out in different ways. And so it's important that we pay attention to that. And we don't know, if you're not a clinician, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you just do what you normally would do. Yep. Hey, man up. You know, those are some of the words that we use with our Black males that we have to really re-examine the language that we use. Wouldn't you say that?
We definitely got to change that narrative, you know, that narrative around man up, you know, stop punking out or whatever the case may be. Those types of phrases really are destroying our youth.
Yep.
Because it's teaching them not to feel, not to express whatever it is that they're feeling, which makes it difficult for them to communicate as an adult.
That's true.
That's right. That's right. And DaJuan, your wife says, good job. so she's sending you good job. So, you know, and I want us to talk a little bit more around that language, because it is so prevalent in our community, and working with Black youth and teens. And when their parents sit in front of me, I hear that language so much. And prior to the knowledge that I have, I've used some of that language, right? And I want us to talk to our audience, Dr. Reggie, and let's try to put some other language in place so that we can open up the way for our Black males, not just the youth, but our Black males to be to feel safe enough to be more expressive.
Well, you know, it goes back to particularly when you're talking about adult males, you know, it's more about them feeling safe to actually, a safe space for them actually to be able to emote or to say what it is they're thinking without that wife or that girlfriend or anybody saying you're weak. You know, we can't be afraid to say what we need. You know, we can't be afraid to say what's not okay and what is okay. But a lot of times, particularly with men, we have to feel safe. That's just the nature of who we are. But I think that once we change that narrative and be brave enough to tell someone, what I need from you is this, baby. You know, I don't need you coming at me like this because I'm going to shut down. What I need for you to just listen to me this time.
Right.
That makes sense.
It does make sense, because even in talking to my husband, I've had to learn to ask, when you share that with me, what are you looking for?
Right.
Are you looking for me just to listen? Are you looking for a solution? Are you looking for my input? Because I'm ready to get in there and, you know, and he might not appreciate the way that my tone is. And so that's really, really important on our part. I'm not saying as women we bear the burden of it, but we do have to contribute to the safety of the environment.
Absolutely. You know, if I feel that I'm being attacked, if I feel like I'm being talked at instead of talked to, that's another sign that most men are going to just shut down, because that tells me that you're not listening to me.
And I grew up with this theory that women like a strong man, that your attitude got to be strong, you know. And it made me, those things, I mean, that came from my dad, that came from my uncles. You know, don't be no soft dude, don't be this, don't be that, you know, I grew up aggressive. I didn't beat women or nothing like that, nothing crazy like that, but I was kind of like the alpha. I had an alpha male attitude, you know what I'm saying? Like an alpha lion in the pack. And, you know, and so that was always my attitude. And, you know, it took me a long time to learn how to love and have feelings, because I was always on guard with my heart, and always on just on alert for something. And I didn't have to be. I missed out on a lot of good relationships. And, you know, from a love standpoint, that affected me with my sons in the beginning, you know, because I had that alpha lion attitude, you know, like just not just aggressive, just, you know, and just teaching them to be, you know, that's what I wanted them to be, was just, you know, always on guard and always, you know, on top of themselves. And so when I saw him hurting, I didn't understand that, you know. It was that was one of the things, you know, that really affected me and brought me down 10 notches.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, DaJuan. That takes a lot of courage. And, you know, you might have been brought down 10 notches, but you just risen up 20 notches in my sight tonight. Because you know what, you're speaking truth, and you're representing the men who are watching, and you're bringing understanding to the women and the females who are watching also. And so, Dr. Reggie, I'm going to ask you to share just a little bit, because we could be here all day talking about this, but share a little bit about what role does the historical trauma plays in the Black male image, and the image that Black men feel like they have to portray.
It goes back to the beginning of time, but more prevalent around slavery. You know, we were told not to talk, number one. We were told that we didn't have anything to say. We were told that we needed to be strong for the field. You know, we were told that we couldn't talk back, you know, and even as time progressed, you know, through time, you know, those generational behaviors have just continued, that I've got to show this macho demeanor because I'm a man, and that's what men do. You know, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, you're human who happens to be a man who has feelings, you know, and I think that we're just coming of an age where, because we're talking about this more, that men are actually starting to be better communicators in their relationships, and they're being willing to shed some of those toxic masculine behaviors that that people want to always label us as being.
That is so true. And I would say to my sisters, if you want to see your man act more emotional, again, you have to work on your language presentation as well. Mm-hmm. Right? Because a lot of us are also teaching our girls to talk to boys in a certain way that's demeaning to them. I watch it with my own sons. And, you know, girls would come up and they really like him, but they would say, you know, stuff like, oh, you think you all that? Oh, you know, just that kind of confrontational behavior. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how he's not less than a man because he wants to be talked to with respect.
Absolutely.
In a kind way.
Mm-hmm. And
right.
we have to again, be so learned to be secure in ourselves to not necessarily demand that, but just simply ask for that. Ask for that space to just let me be who I am. I guarantee you're going to like the person that you meet.
So, Dr. Reggie, when you say ask for that, give me an example. So we're home and we're having a conflict. My husband, let's say, for example, he's stressed and he's feeling the pressure of the day's work, finances, and all his responsibility. And I'm, just spouting off at the mouth and keep going. From that scenario, what would you suggest would be a way to approach that as a man?
I would probably walk up to you, grab you by your arms and say, look, babe, I know that you probably got a lot of things going on with you right now, but I've had the worst day of my life. Is it possible we could just talk about this a little later? I promise you, I'll come back, but I just need a break right now. And I kiss her on the forehead or I kiss her on the lips so that she knows that I'm not avoiding her, but I just need some time,
Wow.
I respect what she's saying.
If you are a woman and you're watching this and this resonates with you, I want you to say #Go Dr. Reggie. #Go Dr. Reggie and share this out because this is so important because even though, we can spend all day demanding that our men be more emotional and be more gentle and all of this. But again, I go back to the basis. If we don't provide that safe space, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he comes up to me and say that, now I can't just go off and say, what you talking about? You gonna hear me out, right?
No, you cannot. That's when I'm going to shut down. And I think a lot of times the key to that particular technique is the touch. It's an automatic calmer. And it lets you know that even though I need my time, I'm present with you. So it really is about the touch.
Okay. That's another Go Dr. Reggie moment. The touch. Because that touch is going to soften me up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So again, you're watching Teen Talk Live. We're talking about depression in Black males, and our guests, DaJuan Savage and Myles Savage, they have been so open and so candid in sharing their story from alopecia to family struggles to depression with us. And we have the Black male expert, Dr. Reginald Cunningham, here with us, and we're just sharing this information. And if you have questions, I'm checking my phone for questions. And if you have questions, just drop it in here so we can get an answer. So Dr. Reggie, we talked about some of the signs of depression. And a lot of times people don't know that, especially in young people, some of the signs, especially young Black boys too, and teenagers, some of the signs include stomach aches and headaches.
Yes, stomach aches and headaches, definitely.
Right?
Yes.
And what about that kid who is just withdrawn and in their room all the time? What do you suggest that some of the families can do?
You got to get that child out of the room, if only just to open the door. I think that when you're noticing a change in behavior, that, something's going on. So I need to know what you're doing. And as a parent, you don't want to say, well, this is my house, you need to leave your door open. Baby, I'm concerned about you. You need to know what's going on their social media. And I know today that is probably one of the most difficult things to do because kids are very savvy. However, at all costs, you need to know who they're talking to, what's being said. To know some of those abbreviations that I meant to look for them because there's a lot that deals with there's a few that deals with suicide and depression, but you need to know what those things are so that you're monitoring your child. And it's not that you're being nosy, you are protecting your child, your son.
Absolutely, because it's used to be we look for bullying in a certain way, but cyberbullying is
It's
so prevalent.
crazy. It really is. And kids are actually committing suicide strictly from cyberbullying.
Absolutely, and people need to be aware of that. People need to be aware of that. So, so tell us again, Dr. Reggie. So, what if you suspect that a black man in your life, and again, this transcends race, but we're talking specifically today about our black men, because the reality is there is an increase. That's the fastest growing population of suicide
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely.
And depression is one of the leading causes of suicide, right? And so that is so important that we address this. And that's why I'm focusing on black men, right? So what do you suggest? There is help and there is hope. So what kind of messages of hope can you share with our audience?
Well, research says that, because this is it's considered a taboo thing with black men, that there's not a lot of research out there on treatment, but we as clinicians, we as you as a wife need to really, really be aware of and know your husband, know your man. And if their behavior is changing, don't think that they're hiding something or that you need to be suspicious about something. You need to maybe develop a better connection with that man at that time. Look, baby, tell me what's going on with you. You're not the same man that you were a month ago. And I know this is not you. I'm here whenever you want to talk. Not always what's going on with you. I'm here. Open. You've got to lead into making that space safe for them and saying something like, whenever you want to talk, I'm here.
Right. And
that's true.
So important, right? Go ahead, DaJuan.
That's true. Being out of town and not in a familiar, like a state where I got family and stuff like that, it's oftentimes hard to go open up to just anybody or whatever the case is. And so sometimes when a man is going through something, it don't got to be that he ain't feeling you or something like that. It's something going on. You got, it's something I got to, it's some things that I need to be dealing with. And I need somebody to talk to that would understand it, and not get a typical answer, And I think a lot of men don't want to get a typical answer. They want to go somewhere where they know they're going to get valid information. Men are creatures of information. We like valid information, and we like it when we want it, and we want it to to be right, to make us feel better, right then and there. And so when we don't get that, we bottle up whatever we're dealing with, and that's happened to me a few times. And it's hard, it turns into anger down the line, an argument that might be a anthill will be blown way out of proportion, and it's something that I've been dealing with for about a week, that I didn't get off my chest, and it don't have nothing to do with my wife. It could be something totally different, and those are dangerous things. And I'm blessed to have people to talk to now. But man, having those issues back then, that's very hard.
I think one of the most important things, if any men out there listening, if you don't get anything from this, is that there is nothing wrong with seeking professional help when you know inside you something's not right. That's the narrative that we've got to really change. We've got to change that stigma. We've got to change that fear around the possibility of opening it up to somebody else. Okay. But if you're not ready for that yet, You know, if you're in a relationship, and sometimes, ladies, what you need to do is say, babe, come, I want you to take a ride with me someplace. Get them out of the usual home setting. Take them someplace, look, and talk to them. You know, I've noticed something that's going on. You may not want to talk to me about it, but I want you to know that I'm here. And if you think you need to talk to somebody, baby, I'll help you find somebody to talk to. You know, it really is, again, creating a safe space for your man to be the man that you want him to be.
Right. And I think that's really, really important. And again, I don't want to put all the responsibility on the woman to do this, you know, but I want to make sure that as partners in this, you know, we know that there are some things that we can do. But like Joseph was saying, sometimes men know how to play the game, and they'll just show up and avoid you or give you answers to brush you off, you know, instead of opening up also. And so, Dr. Reggie, when we say, I know language and tone, intonation is really important. So when we want to know what's going on, give me an example of what can we say when we want to know what's going on?
You really put me on the spot this time. I've usually got some quick ones to come back at.
Well, while you think about it, I could think of something that, you know, I would have said. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right?
Who you mad at? What I do this time?
What exactly? What's your problem? Right? And I expect you to open up to me and tell me what's going on.
You know, sometimes you just got to say, is this something you want to talk about?
Absolutely. And we got to do that with our children as well.
Oh, definitely. You know, I can see myself asking little Myles, you know, is there something you need to tell Dad? I'm here for you. You know, I never want you to be afraid to talk to me about anything. I don't care how embarrassing. I've been a child before. I know things that you go through.
That is so true. And somebody said, if you don't get the help, you can make life miserable for everybody around you.
Everybody around you. No doubt about that.
Be the opposite of what you really want. You really want closeness, but being in the depression, not getting the help, what you really do is push people away. Mm-hmm. Right? So, you know, as women, and I'm just going to make a contrast, as women, I have like a core group of women friends who we check in on each other, right? So we're like, okay, what's going on with you today? All right, so this is the third day in a row I heard that you taking a nap in the middle of the day. What's going on? And they don't get to, you know, we don't just say, they don't get away with fine, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. So nobody in that circle, our women's circle, get away with just saying that. Mm-hmm. Right? So how can men build that accountability and say and be able to just get away from I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm good? How do you build that?
Well, you know, as a result of a few celebrities coming out about their mental health, you know, there's been a lot of platforms out there that are available for us. You know, one is #ManUGood. You know, that's where men who are dealing with some emotional issues have a safe space to, it's, of course, it's on social media, but it's a place to start those conversations, you know. And then there's another one called Man You Still Good, you know, #Man You Still Good. There's my private Facebook page, If You Could Read My Mind, which is really all about men coming and talking about what they're dealing with and getting help on how to deal with certain situations. And sometimes a lot of the conversations is about, man, I think you might benefit from some professional help. And hearing it that way is a lot easier than somebody telling us you're crazy and you need to go to see a therapist. You know, we've got, and again, you know, a lot of men are on social media, but a lot of men are not on social media. And that is a viable place to get information. And sometimes women have to alert us men to certain outlets.
Right. That is so true. And I just want to check in with my audience. We've got a big crowd here tonight. And I want to say thank you all for joining. Yes, we got a big crowd. Thank you for joining and share this out. We have celebrity Dr. Reggie here with us. He's the expert in the house on depression,
much credit.
treating the black male, right? But here's what I want you to do. I want you to drop in the comments. I want you to drop, who do you check on and who checks on you, right? Because if you don't have somebody to check on you, I want you to make a promise that you're going to find somebody to check on you. And in turn, I want you to promise to check on somebody. So in the comments, I want you to type, who do you check on and who checks on you, right? In the comments, who do you check on and who checks on you? Because that is really, really important. Because before somebody makes up their mind to, say, for example, commit suicide or anything like that, there's so much that we can do before that point.
You know, and also to the brothers out there, you know, you really got to be very, very aware of the company that you keep, that we keep, because, you know, even these long-standing friendships, if those men are not really, really in you or connected to you, you know, they could give you some of the worst information on dealing with situations. You know, yeah, you need your boys to vent to sometimes, but what's the information that you're getting back from them? Is it beneficial, or is it them just getting off their notch, if you will?
Right, right. So Dr. Reggie, as we, you know, man, this is such good information. As we talk about this, a lot of people in our community will say, I don't want to get no medication for this. And you know, depression can be treated by medication to help you get to what we call baseline functioning, right? So if this is where you normally function, but now you down here, it's hardly anything we could do till we get you back to here, right? And then we can build you up. And there are cases where medication is necessary. Now, I'm not a proponent of medication without education. If you're gonna take medication, I believe you need education to go along with it. So what's your thought on that, Dr. Reggie?
Well, I know you see me smiling. I am not an advocate for medication at the onset. You know, even when they're down here, sometimes I think talk therapy can get them to a place where they can actually receive the education on medication. If I see that they're not progressing, I might mention the possibility, only to go get an evaluation and let the doctor explain the pros and the cons, the education, and then make your own decision.
Exactly.
What I have found when sending individuals, or even if they come to me already on medication, the one thing that they're wanting to do is get off the medication. And once a doctor actually puts a person on antidepressants, it's very, very difficult for them to want to take you off. So that's why I'm not necessarily an advocate, but I do believe that there are times when it's necessary and it could in fact be beneficial.
I'm anti-medicine all day. I mean, I've seen so much happen with these side effects and with these medicines turning kids to addicts, and these kids being misdiagnosed. There was a point in time where they wanted to put me on Ritalin, and when I was a freshman in high school, and they told my dad, they said it's not a gateway drug. It's not this. And then a year later, after my dad said no, you're not putting him on nothing, a year later it comes out that it was a drug that you can become addictive off of. So I'm hard on that theory. I mean, it's like it's got to be some real mental illness going on. I mean, you got to be gone for me to just be like, you know, there's no help. There's nothing to be done. So,
and that only speaks to the mistrust that Black men, the Black population has when it comes to healthcare in general. That goes back to the Tuskegee experiments. And
right.
that even today, we don't know a lot of times why they are prescribing a certain drug.
Yep.
But it does speak to, if they're not being honest and you found out that they were not being totally upfront, that only adds to our mistrust of the healthcare field.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for those of you who are taking medication, I'm not suggesting that you get off of it.
Absolutely not.
That's one of the worst things that you can do, is to pull yourself off of medication, because then your emotions are all over the place and you don't have the tools to really manage them. So I mean, that's just my thought on it. And there is a huge mistrust when it comes to medication, and that's why I strongly advocate for my students to get talk therapy and learn some coping skills before any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Any of that, because that's so important. And some people think that once you get on medication, that will do the entire work for you.
The work starts.
It doesn't.
Yeah, that's when the work starts.
That's when the work starts, Dr. Reggie. You are so right. And that's why I am such a proponent of education, psychoeducation, talk therapy, learning coping skills and things like that. So if you suspect your loved one, be it your son, your significant other, or whomever, of somebody who might be having depression, well, before we do that, and I know we're coming to the hour, and I appreciate you all's time. Dr. Reggie, I think it's important if you can clarify for us, what is the difference between mental health and mental illness? Because we mix that up all day long.
Okay, I want you to think about how, everybody's on this physical kick, and they call it physical health, getting better. Okay? They're not talking about physical illness, or something's wrong, or something's hurting. They're talking about physical health. It's the same with mental health. Mental health is just being the best person that you can be, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Mental illness is something that's diagnosable. It has letters attached to that, whether it's depression is a mental illness, ADHD, bipolar, all of those things are diagnosable. I tend to want to really focus on, and in changing the narrative and the stigma with mental illness, is to basically use the word mental health, getting myself in the best light, and the best person that I can actually be.
That's good. That's good. So because we're talking about mental health, we're not talking about you having a mental illness. No. But if you don't take care of your mental health, you can develop mental illnesses. Just like if you don't take care of your physical health, you can get diabetes, high blood pressure, and stuff like that. It's the same thing, right? And it's nothing wrong with getting your mental health attended to.
Everything's right with getting your mental health attended.
Right. And Phoenix says holistic healing methods, including dietary changes, can be natural alternatives to address depression. And she is right on.
Absolutely.
She is right on.
Yes.
And so, I mean, this has been such a really good conversation, and I think we've covered a lot of ground here. And so, DaJuan, I'm so grateful that you stood up as a dad, as a husband, as an upstanding member of the Black community, and say, hey, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to bring light to this. That is so commendable, and I just want to thank you for doing that. So I want you to just take a couple of seconds and share with the other dads out there who might be listening, what's one thing you would want to share with dads out there? And then, Myles, I'm coming to you so you can tell me about some exciting stuff that's coming up for you soon, okay? All right.
We are the kings of our homes. We are, but, in that, it's okay to love. It's okay to, let your guard down, especially when you have a wife, and not a girlfriend or just somebody, Um, and it's good for the boys to see that. I got two sons, and both sons being able to see me as a different person than I was last year. I could see the difference in them. I can hear it in their conversations. I could see it in their school reports. And it's okay to be, it's okay to be, it's okay to love and still be a man. So there one thing I learned was there's no punk in love. And so that means everything.
That's amazing. And what I hear you really saying that is that it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yep.
And that doesn't take away from your kinghood.
Yeah, don't take away from who you are as a king, definitely.
Awesome. So Myles, you've got some really interesting things coming up soon. So tell us about that.
I have a fashion show I'm going to in October.
Okay. Where is it? DaJuan, move the camera over just a little bit so we can see him. All right, there you are. Okay, so tell us about this fashion show. What is it about and where is it?
It's an alopecia fashion show with models with alopecia, and it's in California.
Wow. And how can the viewers help you to get to this fashion show?
My mom has a link on her Facebook.
Melanie Savage.
Okay.
Savage, and there's a link where you can donate.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to have your mom to drop the link in the comment section. So if anybody want to help you to get to this fashion show, because I think it's just a very courageous thing that you're doing. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with other young men who might be going through some of these experiences that you've gone through?
Just talk.
Wow.
Just
that's profound. Just look, I need a t-shirt that says just talk.
I like that.
I like that, Myles. Thank you. And thank you for your courage. It's so brave of you to be here, and I appreciate it. That's a lot of courage for a ninth grader to be on, worldwide internet talking about some of the challenges that you've had. And I know that it'll bless somebody. Okay. So Dr. Reggie, closing remarks for our audience.
Well, before I forget, I am going to go out here and I'm going to step out here and challenge everybody that's watching and everybody that actually watches this on the replay to find the link for Myles' donation so that this young man can go out to California and represent. I'm going to send you $50 myself. As soon as I see the link, I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I think that what you're doing, Myles, is brave. And I think that most importantly, you are going to gain so much self-confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem by doing this. So I really, really do commend you for that. The only other thing I want to say, Ann, is that, we really got to take care of ourselves as Black men. We've got to stop taking things for granted. Depression is sometimes considered the silent killer, because we hold all of these things inside, and we don't learn outlets or coping mechanisms to get them out, or even believe that there is a way out. We've got to really start changing the narrative around what it means to be a man, and to be vulnerable, to be brave, to just be. And it's so important that we find those safe spaces to do so. That's pretty much it.
Wow, that is so amazing. And I just thank you for your time. And thank you for the work that you do to support our Black boys and our Black men. That's incredible. And Dr. Reggie, you have a book coming out soon. Tell us about it.
The book, and I'm part of an anthology. I'm a co-author with 15 of my colleagues. The book title of the book is Black Therapist Rocks, A Glimpse Through the Eyes of Experts. And what this book entails is everyone has a story. And us, all 16 of us authors told our story. We were totally humble and transparent, and whatever topic it is that brought us to where we are, we wrote about it. Awesome book. The link I'll put it in the comments if you want to order it, because it's something that I think it's a coffee table book, you know, that people just need to pick up and just thumb through sometime. I guarantee you there's a story in there that matches yours.
And that's so amazing, because a lot of people need to know that as therapists, we have our own struggles. Yes. And a lot of times it's our struggles that bring us to this work, you know, finding hope and finding solutions and wanting to pass that on. That's a lot of times what brings us to this work. And that's why we're so good at it.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you all for being here. A shout out again to Joseph Dillard. That's my husband. He's a financial consultant, and he has sponsored this month's episodes of Teen Talk Live. So if you want to know how to be a sponsor, just inbox me or drop it in the link so that you can sponsor great conversations like this, because we have to keep the conversations going. And yes. If you want to reach out and get further information, inbox me. We are available to help you. I'm going to drop a link in here that says 10 things to say or not to say if your teenager says, I'm going to kill myself. If you hear that from a person, the next words out of your mouth is critical. So I'm going to drop a link so you can get that information so that you can be empowered and aware. I'm going to respond to your comments. We've got lots of comments, but if you're catching us on the replay, like and share, please like us, share it out, and just spread the word, because this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for representing our community.
Absolutely.
I love you all and appreciate you all.
Love you too.
Good night, everyone.
See you, Myles. See you, DaJuan.
See you, man. Nice meeting you.
As well.